hand the microphone over to Coach Lee Stevens, who's going to be talking about his process around scripting and that helps him to convert at a higher level. I talk to a lot of people week in and week out in the mortgage business, in the real estate world, and a common theme that has emerged over the past couple of weeks is that people are getting really busy and now they got a lot of people to talk to. And the biggest challenge they're having is figuring out how to get these people off the fence because there's a lot more interest than there has been for a long time. But turning a lead into a deal, into a paycheck is still something that people struggle with. And Lee is here to solve those problems for you. So Lee, take it away.
Thanks, Eric. Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
What's up, Lee?
What's going on?
Good. Doing good, thanks.
Well, I am a coach with B Coaching and Consulting. I know this is an internal call, but a lot of you don't know me. I run a large team in Northern Nevada. I've got about 24 active agents, and I coach them all the time about conversion and how to get paid and, what happens when the lead comes in. And I'm not huge actually on scripts. So the framework I'm going to teach you today is actually how to create a conversation guide around any objection. And I believe objections are just requests for more information. So put a 1 in the chat box if you guys have had a stump thing recently where you've been stumped, or someone has been asking you a question and you couldn't get around it. You just felt like cold. All right. So we've got a lot of people there. So real quick, what I teach is called the F.R.A.M.E framework, but it's a 4-step process with 5 letters. Eric and I were laughing about that today. The way that we do this is the first thing, the F stands for feel, like acknowledging and validating what their concerns are, not arguing with them. That's the big thing. Not like, oh, that's so funny, that's cute. It's really acknowledging, possibly agreeing or saying that you understand. The next thing that you do is you reframe. So whatever thing that they're going on in their lives, like whatever they've got going on, it's surrounded by all this chaos and insecurity, and you need to reframe that. You need to challenge that point of view and shift the perspective. The other thing you need to do is align them with your logical solution. And then in order to move forward or move beyond, you need a micro commitment. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So the first thing with feel, and guys, I mean, I see a lot of people without their video on. And this is like, in order to get the most out of this call, we need to be participating at a level 10 is what I call it. So if you guys can turn on your video, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, Chad's got a level 10 back there. I mean, I know this is a Zoom call. We do a lot of these and I really appreciate your time, but I want to see your faces and see how you react to this, because if something doesn't land and I need to change it, I need that feedback. So it's for both of us, guys. Thank you so much for everyone turning on those cameras. All right, so the step 1, the feel, okay? So acknowledge and validate, just like I said before. People don't know you care until they feel understood. An example of how you do this is the objection comes up and you say that I totally understand. Many sellers feel this way before they know their options. So just some way to kind of get to their level, because they're like, tell me the price. Okay. They're like, tell me the price, tell me the commission. And some of the things that you can say is like, I totally get that, but I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't explain my process before, we got into what you want. If I told you the price before telling you what I did, it would of course sound like too much. But I can assure you that I will get you the money that you want if you let me explain the steps that it takes to get there. What you need to do is like just say that you understand and that you want to wait to kind of handle that. Now the reframing, okay? This is the big thing, and this takes practice, and we're going to actually practice this today. All right, so I want you guys, who's hiding from me? Who's not making contact with the camera? I'm going to call you out. So anyone who's not looking, I'm going to call you out, and you're going to be my role play partner. But shifting perspective is the master's game in sales. Okay, so they've got this energy, they've got this, they've been pounded, they've been sold to. Okay. Who likes to be sold to here? I kind of do. I'm like a sucker. I'll buy anything. Yeah, I love being sold to. And I think it's funny. I'm like, oh, you're good, you know? But these sellers do not like being sold to. They want to be serviced, they want to be helped. So we need to challenge what they're thinking and think creatively at the same time. So here's an example. Most sellers who wait end up competing with more listings and getting fewer offers. So I want to wait until the market corrects. I want to wait until the interest rates come down. And that statement's true. Does everyone understand that? Like what I just did there? Just kind of put a box around it. Um, what I want you to practice reframing for is two things, okay, when you're out on your listing appointments. And I'm going on quite a few lately. I've been on 5 this week, and there's a lot of fear right now of, the market. Chad's got these candlesticks behind him. It's giving me anxiety right now. So there's a lot of fear. The two things that I've been seeing the most out in the field is I need to think about it and I want to interview more agents. Okay. And we'll get to these objections in a little bit. The third step is to align. So provide a logical solution. So this is where you prove moving forward with you is the right decision. Okay. You would give an example. Now, who has sold a listing this year? Raise your hand. All right, good. We've got mostly real estate agents. I see some lenders on here. Put a 2 in the chat if you're a lender, and I'll work on some scripts for you too if there's a lot of you. So here's my example for alignment. Just last month, I had a seller in your situation who listed and now is getting 15K over asking. Now, I don't want you to BS anyone, okay? But I'm sure that you guys have stories that you're not really sharing. Real life examples, especially testimonials, will do the job for you, will sell harder than you ever could. So I want you guys, as we're going through this, I want you guys to write down how you would use this framework for your own success, okay? Um, right now, I would like you to write down a past client success story specifically for listings that could help you overcome an objection. Now, the fourth step is to move on and get a micro commitment. Now, I think there's two phases to this. Usually, when I'm dealing with objections, it's at the very end. And if your listing presentation is strong enough, there's not too many. So there's usually 1 or 2 objections, and then they're ready to go, usually. What I would say to preface this last step is I understand all your objections, and if I handle these properly, are you ready to move forward? Now, it does 2 things. They can say no, okay? But they can also ask, oh, it looks like the thing changed. They can also reveal any other objections. And it might, whatever they've told you, it might not be their biggest one. So they usually say the price, they usually say the commission, right? Really, sometimes it's the stress. A lot of the times I'm finding it's the timing. So asking that question before you get your micro commitment is a good way to make sure you don't ask to move forward before you're ready. If you do that, you'll get more resistance. So closing isn't about pushing, it's about guiding, right? Who's been through some other training and they've done like the sign-a-thons? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? All right, that's good. That's a rough. When I first started in real estate, they trained me, this is true. They trained me to just sit there and not leave until I was getting this person to sign. And it put me into some crazy situations, especially with how I prospected. But the example for moving and getting a micro commitment is, would you rather lock in um, would you rather lock in the interest that we have today or risk the market going forward? It sounds like you're scared about the future. Today, I have history showing the results that you'll get, and in the future, I don't know what you'll get. And all I know is that I have other clients that are successful, and I would like you to be one of those people, one of those success stories. Wouldn't you agree? And then they'll tell you 2 things. They'll say yes or no, but make sure if you go back into the loop that you find out what the actual objection is. So if you've handled a point where it's like commission or pricing, or I need to interview other agents, if you've handled that and they're still objecting, then you haven't either found their true motivation or their true objection. Okay, so I kind of threw a lot at you guys. I'd like to call on some people about this framework here. I can call on someone, or someone can just volunteer on what they think and share some experiences that they've had. And I will call on someone in three, two. All right, Mike Wood.
Hey, what's
Hey,
up, buddy? How
what's
did I
going on?
know? I'm in the box next to you.
Nice.
Is there an E to frame?
There's not, it's 4 steps.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I put my own E. I put excited
Oh,
because
okay.
I've found that if I go in with a positive, upbeat, with exactly how I came on that, which is, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Um, I've never thought about breaking it into a framework like this. The two things that I wrote down is I've also found that if I use the percent, if it's 97% or over on my listing for the sold price compared to the list price, they really like that. And they absolutely love any listings I can show that closed within 45 days of list because our marketing time is a little bit lower. And I do tend to ask the questions to understand where they're coming from. And ultimately what the problem is that I'm solving.
Yes.
The one thing I don't do is get a micro commitment. I really like that. And I don't do a two-step. I do a one. If I can get them to sign right there, then we're going for it. But if they don't sign immediately, or I guess the micro commitment is we set a date in the future that my photographer is going to be there. And that's when I want them to sign because we put it up the next day. And I never really thought about that. But if I can't get either of those commitments, my my conversion average just drops off. It's terrible. If I can't get something of here's the next step, or yeah, let me fill out the disclosure right now and I'll sign the agreement.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes, sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't. You know, you walk in and you get that energy and you're like, oh, this guy's my buddy. And then sometimes I don't get it. But a lot of the times I'll come in and I feel like I'll have something or not with the rapport building. So if you
Yeah,
if you can't build that rapport, it's going to be difficult anyway. But thanks for
I
sharing,
really,
Mike.
you got it, buddy.
Mr. Lubin, coach.
First, I gotta say I love that two of the top agents in their area are giving each other their best practices. Just says a lot about our community. So thank you guys for being the pros that you are. Um, I will frame if I can answer all your questions and overcome any objections, fears, or frustrations you have. I want you to know I'm going to ask you to sign something at the end. Is that okay? So I kind of frame it like you do, Lee, but I just
Yeah,
ask for permission to get the signatures at the end.
I like that. What if they say, I don't want to sign anything? What do you say?
Why would you not, or what would stop you from signing something today?
I like that. That's
Yeah.
that. That's that discovery, and then we can roll through that framework.
Right, because they'll usually give me an objection at that point, and then I know how hard to push. Like I can gauge this might not be the right time, and follow up is needed, or I need to provide more information, or I can ask deeper through weaving of questions of, hey, what's the most important thing I do to earn your business? I kind of back off the assumption close at that point that they're going to go with me, and I know I got to dig deeper with better questions.
Love it. All right. Any students or people new to the community have any questions or any objections I can troubleshoot live? If not, I'm just going to call on someone.
I got
I think
one.
Tyler does.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Tyler.
my name's Gunner. We're a group here.
Gunner.
We got a few people here in the room. Mike Wood's team.
Nice.
Um,
Nice to
so
meet you.
one that you've kind of brought up already, but when they say like I'm interviewing multiple agents, that's a pretty common one, I feel like. But as someone with not a lot of experience with listings, how would you go about that? I'd be curious to know.
Oh, I love that you asked me this because I used to go up against your team leader when I was new. And it was tough because Mike has $3 billion in sales or something like that, and I had two sales. So there's being on his team, you can wrap the sales together and you can say, this is what we've done in the past 6 months. So in the MLS, and guys, I don't know if the MLS is the same, but in the Reno market where Tyler is, you can search the sales in the advanced settings and you can just get the list of all your sales, right? By putting your name in. What I want you to do is put Mike's name in too. And Mike, are you here on the call still? I just want to make sure I have your
Yeah.
permission.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And I believe that there's, you gain leverage where you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I let my team do the same thing.
Yeah.
So pull his sales into your sales and say in the last 6 months, this is how much we've done. Now, when it comes to competing with other agents, I ask for their name. This is also something that Mike used to smash me with. And guys, I love Mike, okay? But he crushed me for 3 years. I didn't beat him for 3 years. All right. And I asked him, he eventually told me all these things, but it took a lot of learning. Um, so you get their, if you can, get their sales information and then just compare it to yours and say, usually the agents that you're competing against have much fewer sales than you. And sometimes they're legit. There's another guy, and Tyler, you know him, Jack Cote. He's tough. You know, my old broker, Brian Draculich, another guy who consistently sells 6 homes a month, you know, on the sales side. So that's tough. But if you're competing against someone with less experience than Mike, you will probably win on those 2 points, on the blended sales and on the fact that you actively sell more homes than the competition.
Hey, Lee,
Yes.
I will tell you, if I were selling against me, I would say, um, he's a great guy, but he's just so busy. If you're okay with limited communication and being one of many, that's totally fine. I'm more of an experience agent. I want to make sure you're taken care of. So anyone you're competing with has an Achilles.
Oh, yeah.
And you can just take the range and say, well, I can leverage myself if I don't have the numbers. Am I on a team? What about the brokerage?
Mhm.
How high up of a level do I have to get to gain mass? And then what are the categories that I'm going to be competing with? And a lot of you know the agents in your market and would only take maybe 10 minutes a day for a week to go, okay, if I'm competing against this type of agent, this is my superpower. And you can uncover whether or not the seller is looking, well, what the seller is looking for, using F.R.A.M.E, because after feel is basically establishing rapport, and then reframing is an empathy piece of putting yourself in their position as to what they are looking for. And if you are a salesperson, and I hate to tell you, but you're all salespeople, then your job is to solve their problem. And I would create the narrative that I am the ideal person to solve that problem because I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you said this was very important, and gosh darn it, that's my number one. And it's a good thing you interviewed me, because the other two names you gave me are not going to fit. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. We can wait and you can interview them if you'd like, but do you really want to spend your time interviewing agents? Wouldn't you like to just get on the road and get this house on the market?
Yeah, I love that. So Tyler, I'm gonna use Frame to help you with this objection, and then I'm gonna go to someone else, okay? So just clarify for me real quick, your objection was we're interviewing other agents.
Yes, it was.
Okay. So I would say, Mr. Seller, I totally understand that, and that's a good question. I would want to know, you know, who I'm competing against and what their strengths and weaknesses are. May I get their name? And they may or may not tell you. It doesn't matter. If they don't tell you, use the blended sales, and that shifts their perspective. Say, well, I don't know how many sales Mike has done in the last 12 months. This is how many I've done. I've done 40, 50, whatever. I know you guys have done quite a few. And that should make them feel better, but you can also get a little bit more into the weeds with that and highlight just the ones that you sold quickly and got over asking. Now you're going to align and say, these are the results that I've gotten in the past 6 months, And would you like these same results? No, they're gonna say yes. That's your micro commitment. So once they say yes, you say, great, let's move forward. And the way that I get that started is I sign something first. So I'll sign wherever, like what is it, the MLS inputs, the exclusive right to sell, I'll sign and then I'll turn it and then they'll sign. So it's different than just saying sign here. It gets the ball rolling. I hope that answered your question. I'd love to take more. Who is next?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to carry on with that. It was interesting this got brought up because we talked about it in last week's team meeting with Phil. He actually taught us how to go against a big brokerage or agent. And then he
Yes.
also taught us how to beat a big brokerage, or, for somebody that's big like Mike Woods, when you struggled for 3 years, like you said.
I did.
Mike Woods is a very busy guy. You want
Yeah.
somebody that's going to focus on your house and get the job done, or do you want somebody that's just going to hand it over to a teammate and let it go down the process? You have my undivided attention. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I like that, Brandon. A step you can do if you know they never answer their phone is say, we can try and call him and see if he picks up. The other thing that you can do, the other thing that you can do,
Mike will pick up. He picks up every time.
Oh, that was you just picked the number one frustration
Mike does pick up.
uh, of home sellers and buyers, which is we are not available. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I forgot the other thing that I usually say, but yeah, just try and call them. And the agents who never pick up, you know. Any other objections? I know we get more than that. I've got a few here, but I'd really like to troubleshoot what's actually happening in the field.
Hey, Lee, I'll throw one more in. I apologize for taking so much time, but
No, you're good.
for agents, and I've done this in the office because I've done listing presentations in the office. And this was 10 years ago when it was 1.3. It was going to be the highest priced home, I think about that time I'd ever done. Darn thing's worth 4 million now. But the seller came in and I asked him, who am I going against? And he told me, and I said, well, let's do this. Let me pull up the MLS. And he was right next to me. I said, let me search. And it was well, he's an agent now in Tennessee, so I can say it, Josh Fink. And Josh
yeah.
had a really good business, and he and I were friends. And
Yeah.
I said, let's just pull up what he's done over the last 12 months on the listing side in your area. And he had 2 listings, and then I pulled up my stats, and I think I had like 16 or so. And data, if presented correctly, is extremely powerful. So, but you've got to know when to draw that card, because if you pull up the wrong agent, you just edified them and help them out.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
Hey Lee, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I'm on the lending side, so
Okay.
at least a couple, if not several times a week when I'm following up with agents, trying to win their business by saying, hey, the property's not moving, so let's do the 2-1 buy down, options like that to try and help it move. And more than 50% of the time, the agent will come back and say, well, they're not listening to me. I said, what do you mean? The home is overpriced, and they just won't listen to me that it should actually be priced at 475 instead of 510, and they won't come off of it.
Mm.
What's the best advice to come back to them? I mean, any ideas there? I mean,
Yeah.
for me, that's like, well, then you're not controlling this transaction.
Right.
You're not doing your job as the agent.
My very first coach, I don't think he's a real estate coach anymore. His name was Kevin Ward. He told me to only take listings, and I was brand new. He's all, the only way to fix that problem is to only take listings that will sell. The problem with that, I believe, and I would have to talk to this person more, is that they don't have their core drive and emotion down, so they don't know what's really motivating them to sell, or they're not motivated. There's only 2 reasons why people don't do something. They're either unwilling or unable. So if it's one of those two, that's not an objection. That's like a condition, you
Yeah.
know? We can't get through that. He honestly probably shouldn't have taken that listing. And as a new agent, that's really tough because, you're scrounging around trying to make it happen. But
Yeah, you
believe
want the
me,
business, yeah,
yeah, I
the
mean,
opportunity.
we've all probably they put a one in the chat box if you've ever taken a listing that you shouldn't have, and that drained your soul and your energy. Just put, oh, look at that. Yeah, there's a lot in there. So it happens to all of us, but I have really used that advice. And you can share this with the agents. It might upset them, but if they're true students, if they're open, it'll wake them up because they took a listing that honestly they weren't ready. And when you get into the expireds and FISBOs with this, which is something else that I train on, it's fine to be the second agent. It's okay. You know, what else do we got, guys? These are good questions. Mr. Lubin and then Brandon, I'll get you.
I got the objection, and I just got something to say what Wayne just said. I always think options are really powerful too, and leave it in control of the client. Hey, we have two competing houses down the street that are similar to yours. They're priced lower at this and this. We could stay at this price that we're at, but these are likely to sell before. And we had no traffic this weekend. So feedback and data, right? Or we can match their prices, and I think this is what it's going to take to sell. Or hey, some objections right now are interest rates, and maybe if you're willing to pay the buyer's interest rate down, we could do a 3-2-1 buy down, a 2-1 buy down, but you're going to have to give some money to the buyer for that. Which one of these do you want to do? Stay at your current price. Reminder, we're getting no traffic. We had 0 showings this weekend. Match what our competition is or get close to it, or buy the interest rate down. So I always think options are super powerful for people when you're stuck with them.
I agree 3,000%. I love that. Would you guys, and going off of what Chad had just said, would you guys like to hear how I package options and try and handle objections before the end of the presentation? Put a one in the chat if you'd like me to drop that real quick. And Chad, while they're doing that, you said you had something else to share?
Yeah, just
Brandon, I didn't
how
forget about
often
you.
are you hearing interest rates as an objection, and what are you doing as an agent to overcome that?
So I hear that quite a bit, but it's starting to taper off. I think the pent-up demand and the fact that interest rates are inching down is finally getting people to believe a little more. And I hear that mostly with buyers. And my number one tool for that is the cost of waiting calculator. I was on one of your calls, Chad. I don't know when, maybe a month and a half ago, and you were talking about that. I've since rolled that out to my team. I've had my guy, he's on here,
Chris,
Chris. Wave, Chris. Chris is my
what's up,
preferred leader up
Chris?
here. Um,
Reno in the house.
Reno's in the house. He came up and did a little presentation with the team on how to do it, and I love not telling him, so I just surprised him and brought him up, and he did a good job. And the agents are using that to overcome that objection, and it's working quite a bit.
I love that, and the rent versus buy comparisons. I had someone stuck on it yesterday, showed that to them. And once again, I love that Mike said this and you reiterated it, Lee. People too much talk data to their clients and don't show them. And when you can see the actual numbers and put the pretty graphs and the pictures behind it, it will, the decisive high D personalities like me, it will work with them, and it works with the analytical people. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone.
Not to mention, it elevates you. It makes you look more prepared.
Sure.
You guys got to remember that most agents that you're competing with don't even have a listing presentation. Only a few do. And having any tool, it just makes you look like a pro.
I just got one last thing to say, and then I'll shut up the rest of the call.
Okay.
I love that you said, hey, and it might have been Mike too. Everybody on is a salesman or woman, salesman, saleswoman. Stop kidding yourself and practicing these scripts and going over them with your team and role playing with yourself in the mirror while you're driving. It's like being a baseball player and doing batting practice. I played baseball for a long time. There was never one game I came on the field without taking BP. Right? You got to prep these things for your day because you're going to face them in this type of environment in this market.
100%. All right, I
I
will
got
go
a
into
question.
real quick, type your name in the chat so I don't lose track of you. Brandon was next.
Okay.
I'll handle your question and then I'll go into my safe seller program or smart seller program. So Brandon, go ahead with your question, please. And
Okay.
Mike, I'll get to you next.
I've had a few just to give me objections of not ready now, fearful of the economy and where we're going. And then, again, you've already mentioned the interest rates, but those are trending in the right direction. But really with the layoffs and things like that, that's really got people back on the fence. If it's not one thing, it's another. What do you combat that with?
So give me them one at a time, please.
Okay, mainly just the uncertainty of our market and our economy.
So I totally understand that one. It really comes down to their motivation if they're going to move or not. And then if they are, the way I handle uncertainty is with a few stats. Back in 2009, we had 18 months worth of standing inventory. And in our market, we have 2.5 months. And real estate's different than the stock market. The stock market, tomorrow we can lose all the value if something crazy happens. With real estate, it's going to take months and months, and you can kind of extrapolate that data. And it's going to take 9 months of listing without selling more than we're listing to catch up to that in this market anyway. You'll have to do it for your own market to catch up to that level of inventory. The other thing is that with some of the changes that are happening now, with interest rates going down, I see more buyer interest. And I can speak to that specifically because I have so many buyer's agents. But if you're a solo agent and you're getting more buyer leads, it's good. It's the good time to sell, especially if they're talking to you right now. NAR says that the 3rd week in April is the best time to list your house. That's when they get most offers and the most money for their home. And if you want to take advantage of that stat, we would want to think about the strategy to move forward. Now, knowing those two facts, does that make you feel any different, or do you still feel the same way? All right, let's move forward. Let me sign here. All right. Mr. Mike Distad. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay. Good. What's up, brother?
So the biggest, we got a ton of new construction going on here. And so a lot of the buyers, if I can get hooked up with them previously, that's awesome. But what's happening is some will go out on their own. Like I haven't even met them yet. They don't even know about me, but then they'll go out and deal with the builder. And then they get the custom plans. And then someone tells them to call me. And so I'm trying to deal with where I've gotten it to go a couple of times, but all of a sudden, interjecting myself into a transaction. The builders don't love it, but it's, how do I add that value? I've done it a few times where I've saved them a ton of money, gotten them the right lenders, where I transitioned lenders, etc. But just curious, what exactly you would, how you'd handle that. They've got a relationship with the builder. They haven't signed anything yet. Then they call you in and say, I want to talk with this guy.
Oh, well, I would do a few things. I would do a trifold with some value add statements, and I can actually help you with that. Mike has more experience in this, so I'll ask him in just a second here. But the other thing that I would do when you're interviewing those clients is get a few testimonials of people that you have helped save a bunch of money and shoot those off as an introductory email. So I'm sure you have 3 or 4 clients even recently where you've saved them 45 grand, 30 grand, or you may have saved them from getting screwed, because those builders, can be a little predatory sometimes. And I'm sure that I'm sure you're an expert at it. We've talked a little bit about this. So having like 3 to 5 points and the reviews with a handout would do the trick. And it's a no-brainer when they know that the value is, 30,000, 45,000. So what I would do is your last 6 months of data, if it's good, you can go 12 months too. But in the last 6 months, I've saved $100, $200, $300,000 from my clients. And here are some reviews from them if you're wondering about their experience.
Yeah, I can think of 2. Yeah, I saved one 35 grand, and the other one was another 20 grand, and then there's gonna be an extra 10 grand I'm saving them by switching lenders. So it's there.
Yeah. So just organize those thoughts, put it into a container, and share that. Mr. Wood.
Trifold? What was the trifold?
Trifold, yeah. So trifold would be a picture of you in front of the house, like with a clipboard or something like that. Seriously, you gotta think about what they think about. And I know it's silly. Do you follow me on social media, right?
Not yet. I guess I should. You got one more subscriber today.
All right. Well, if you look, it's very visual. And the visual key is just the first, it's like the first handshake. So whatever their biggest fear is, and you can do some market research on your own clients. And this is what I love to do. Ask what their biggest fear is and address that fear visually. Okay? Inside, you're going to put your 3 to 5 step process. You're going to put your reviews, and then you're going to put like some of the different things to watch out for. So on the back, you're going to complicate it. And the answer to that is working with you will simplify it. Okay, so you're going to put a little too much information, you're going to overwhelm them, and then that last page, it's going to be working with you, will simplify it. And I'll also save them a bunch of money.
Then do you have an example you could share?
I have an
do it like-
example. I have a crusty example. Yeah, I do.
Just like to email it over or something. Yeah, not like, yeah.
Yes. So you're in our group, and Dayton Schrader and Mike Wood and Phil. I know you're getting coached by Phil right now. They all have trifold examples. I like Dayton's. I like Phil's. I haven't seen Mike's yet.
It's the same as Dayton's. I took Dayton's and I pulled the oldest trick in the book and took something that was perfect and rebranded it to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
That's
like
what you
that,
get.
Ben. I'd like that.
Yeah. There's zero wrong with that. There is zero wrong with that.
We'll get those in the hive this week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
you
the
got it.
share.
You got it.
All right, guys. I'm going to go into my smart seller program real quick, if you guys don't mind. And then I want to handle some, I've heard from Chad. I want to hear from some other lenders too on some objections and stuff. Give me just a second. I'm trying to make this where I can see it. So you've got your listing presentation. It's got all the stuff in it right before the end. So the way that I do it, just so you guys know, and I can put my listing presentation in the Hive as well, but it's like the team, a pretty house. Inside, it's a picture of me and like some stuff about me. The next page is the reviews. When I'm walking around the house with the clients, or if I ever have to leave them, I just leave it open on that review page. And then there's all the other stuff, professional pictures, how good my stats are, all that. And then right before the comps, I have what's called the no risk listing program. And you can do this for yourself. And what I did was I took the 4 most common objections that I got in listing presentations, and I just put it in a package and put some marketing around it. So the first thing is the easy exit agreement. And when I go to this no risk listing program, I say that this is different. No one else does this, at least in my market. And now all of Mike Wood's team, and that's all right because we're family. But the no risk listing program makes us different. Okay, so easy exit agreement. The number one complaint that I get from all of my selling clients is that they don't want to be stuck with an agent. Okay, so I just recently got a listing because of this little thing here. And all it says is like, unlike most other agents that'll lock you into a long-term commitment, if you hate me and you're totally dissatisfied with the service that I provide, you can write me a letter, and as long as we're not in escrow or in contract, I will let you out. And we'll shake hands, we'll still be friends, and you can work with someone else. The other thing that I do is called the Smart Seller Program. Now, you guys are going to laugh when you hear about this, but I'm sure when you take a listing, the neighbor across the street, the cousin, whoever is going to buy the house, right? And they're going to buy it and they don't want to pay a realtor. They still don't know how to do it. Okay, guys? So this smart seller program means that if you have Uncle Bob and he's unrepresented and he's going to buy your house, I will process, and you need to check with your brokers, your team leaders. Okay. I own my team, so I can do this. I will process this for 1%. And it's just the cost to file. It will still get them, and I don't sign up people to do this. This is to overcome that objection and get them to sign a listing agreement. Okay. So what they have to do, it's pretty specific. They have to give me the list of names before we go into contract, before we execute the listing agreement. So they can't be like, oh, I remember this guy, I remember that guy. It needs to be people that they know. So 2 or 3 people. And then they'll go through the process and they'll try. And guys, I've never done it. Okay. And my team, even though they're scared, has never done it either. And you know why? Can anyone take a guess? No one's going to take a guess. Chad.
You always do what you're told. You always do what you say you're going to do.
I would do it, but the reason why I haven't had to do it is because greed always takes control of one of the two parties. So the guy doing it knows they're already going to get a discount, and then they're trying to batter them on the price, or the seller's like, since you're already getting a discount. So that element has protected me, and it never works. Okay. The third thing is my flexible commission program. Now, this might scare the bejesus out of some of you guys, and I'm not trying to do it. I'm just addressing my most common objections, okay? And doing this prevents them from cutting into your commission. So my flexible commission program is simple. If you do the Smart Seller program, I'll do it for 1%. If I find the buyer and they're unrepresented and they close with me, I get a raise and you get a discount. We're both happy. I'll do it for 4%. And if the other agent brings the buyer and we do it the old-fashioned way, it's the customary 6%. Now, what you'll notice when you go through this before you go into the comps is different levels of relief, okay? These guys are stressed about all 4 points, and addressing them before you go into the comps, and that's really when you demonstrate your expertise, makes them feel better and eliminates objections before they pop up. Put a 1 in the chat if you find this helpful. And go ahead and shoot holes in it. Let's see what you guys got. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Chad. Brandon. Karen Fate. Appreciate it, Chris. Guys, listen, options. That's why it piggybacked right off what you said, Chad. And the person with the options has all the power. So you're empowering your seller. And then, when it comes to price, and we can get into this, we still have some time, but when it comes to price, I say at the end of the day, we're a team. And we can come to an agreement that can work for both of us. I can list it for whatever you'd like, but the data shows this. And as long as we come to an agreement where if we don't get X amount of showings and we put it in writing, then I will move forward on this price. Jim, you want to come up on screen? Go ahead and unmute, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as sometimes, when I actually do a similar flexible commission plan, but I don't offer the 1% like, Redfin does. And honestly, most of my sellers the last 2 years are not rebuying. Either they're moving out of the area or actually some have sold to rent. So as far as like picking it back up on the buy side, and so it has been an objection that I've had to come across that Redfin will offer it for 1%.
And they're doing the buy with Redfin?
Well, the thing is, that's what I believe. I've never, obviously worked with Redfin, but I always thought you only got the 1% as if you also bought through them. But I don't want to argue. I don't want to create an argument with client.
No, it's not an argument. It's just a request for more information. In order to come up with a solution, you need to have all the data. So this is what I tell my people. Like, I'm happy to compete with anyone else, but I need to see exactly what you're talking about. So if they are getting a discount, like I want to know all the costs, and I want to know all the costs that go into the listing. What you'll notice when they do a 1% listing is that they've got to pay for certain services that are extra, and they are dogs on the price. Have you noticed that? They severely, at least in my market, they severely underprice their homes.
No, I haven't really noticed that, to be too honest, as far as the pricing goes. But no, I mean, asking for more data, just, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely open to competing. I'm confident in my services. I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples so that, I'm being fair to both of us.
Right. You'd be surprised when you get that actual breakdown of what everything costs and then compare it to yours. And you can make adjustments too, but you won't have to move all the way down to 1%. Now that you're still paying a buyer broker, usually. So
Yep.
they're still paying 2 to 2.5%. So
Yep.
that cost is the same. And you've got a 2% delta, and they have a bunch of junk fees in there that usually equate to another percent. So you need that data, at first, and you can overcomplicate it again and then simplify it with you as the solution and say, instead of dealing with all that, would you be ready to move forward? And we do it for, 2.75 today. Now, I'm only going to do this today, right now, if you sign. Seriously, I do say this. I'm only going to do this right now if you sign. If you call me tomorrow, I'm not going to do it. But it takes the pressure of the whole Redfin situation away. You know that I have the results. With Redfin, they're very mixed in my market. There's a lot of complaints. If you go online, you can find all kinds of options. I would say, and instead of trashing them, I would say, have you checked out the reviews? I would just take a look at those.
Or the average experience of their brokers too. I mean, that's the other thing too that I've used is that, because they're not hiring, brokers with the most experience are not working at Redfin.
That's right. That's right. Those are the birds. They want to be fed. Jim, did I address all of your concerns with Redfin?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So as far as the smart sell, I thought you said there were 4, but easy exit, smart seller, or the smart seller program was the 1%, the flexible commission plan, the easy exit agreement. Did I miss anything?
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
There's the fourth thing is doing a discount if you double end.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Can I share my screen, Eric? Okay, I'll show you what it looks like. Let me just make this bigger. This is what can you guys see that? You can take a picture of it if you want.
Lee, did you just say take a picture? It'll last longer.
No, I said you can take a picture if you want. So here's this, guys. Okay.
We'll put this in the Hive too.
Yes.
Yeah, and anybody here, because we do have guests on this call, right? Like anybody who's on here, we'll put some info in a follow-up email on how you can join the Hive. It's only $99 a month to be a Hive member and have 2 calls like this every month and access to all these resources that Lee is talking about. We also have an event coming up in San Antonio. We got 10 more minutes. So Lee, if you want to tell them a little bit about how they can save if they're among the first people to register for San Antonio, and then address some more objections. I think I saw a couple of more pop into the chat.
Yeah. So yes, we can address a few more objections. First of all, I'd like to tell you my journey with coaching. When I got into coaching, I was making 110 grand. I was working 80 hours a week. My wife was pissed at me, and she was even more pissed when I signed up for coaching. But it totally changed my life. It really changed my life. And one of the reasons why I'm a coach now is because something that Mike shared with me at one point, and he went through, all the coaches have gone through a similar journey, okay? Literally from rags to riches. We're all self-made. I don't know any one of us who was born into money. Once you get to the point where you're elevated and you've achieved most of the goals that you wanted when you started this journey, it's on your heart basically to give back, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to give back and improve the industry. Now, when Eric talks about the Hive, there's a few things in there. There is a ton of resources. So you've got all the principals who are legit ballers, okay, netting multiple millions a year. I'm not joking. I do well myself, and all of our different collateral and assets are in there for you guys to use. As a matter of fact, if you stay till the end of the call today, I'm going to give you a little book of scripts that we've gone over today and the whole F.R.A.M.E framework, so you can reference that. The other thing that we can do is we have different levels of coaching, 1 through 5, depending on where you're at in business. And I would love to talk to you about that. And any of the principals on here, guys, can you raise your hand to let them know that you're coaches, please? We've got Lubin, we've got Mike. So we would be very happy to do a 15-minute just get to know you call and see if we can partner and take you to the next level. But I can tell you guys that I went from 100, not even net. I was netting 60 grand back then. Okay. I made 120 to even get into the program. I'm netting over $500,000 a year. So actually just a little over 600. And that's in about 4 years worth of work. And it's very hard work. You know, you're going to be busy and they're going to have you do more work. But that structure is the tighter the structure is, the tighter your schedule is, the more freedom you have. So that's my little, and the other thing is we're doing an event in San Antonio and
Is that my connection or is that Lee?
That's Lee.
That's Lee.
homes a
His
year.
his battery is dying. Oh, he's back.
Okay. Over 800 homes a year, guys, he sells. And he's going to open his doors and you're going to get to see how his team operates and how everything goes. And the next day we're going to have speakers and the principals will speak to a bunch of different topics and elevate your game. So I'd love to see you there. I will be there personally as well. So I'd love to meet you in person and talk about how we can help. We all have different specialties and it's going to be great. So I've got time for 2 more questions. Oh, and Eric, it looks like he dropped, this is just for the call today. 20% off fast break tickets right there. So go
Just
ahead
for
and
the
grab
first
that.
5 people too.
Oh, okay. Only
Yeah.
5 if you're not coming. All
Yeah,
right,
we're
guys.
feeding breakfast and lunch. We can't give away all the tickets for like $80.
No, it's good. I mean, that's a deal you won't find outside of this call. So make sure if you're interested in that, click that. And if you have any questions, you can follow me or Mike or Chad on Instagram and you can DM us and we can handle any of those questions for you too.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to put up a poll real quick. I know people are hopping off. So if everybody would take this survey real quickly, that'd be awesome. And Lee, I think the last question I saw, it was a good one. Karen jumped off, but I think everybody will benefit from it. Her question was, when she's got a situation where it's a family property, the parent passed away during the listing period and the siblings are in disagreement, the attorney's going to go with this, what the siblings want to do, which is to keep the price at a level that is not attracting activity. How would you handle a situation like that?
Yeah, that's one of those ones where I only take listings that sell. So at this point, and we talk about channel accounts. So a lawyer or an attorney represents a channel account. This is someone who can send you more than 10 deals a year. I would lean on the relationship with the attorney and tie that to his pay and achieving the goal that he wants for the estate. And just share the data with them. They're very straightforward, very curt. So just have that data ready. Show him that we can get it sold in 45 to 60 days at this price. We can get it sold for 30 or 90 days at this price. And the price that you suggested, we can sell it sometime next year. And the estate will have no money. You know, not quite that extreme, but you can draw that out for them. The goal is for them, and they get paid off how much they liquidate from the estate, by the way. So you need to focus on that number, and the holding costs and that price don't align with their goals. And that's how you can get them to come around. They still might not listen. And if they don't, then that's not a partnership. But, you know, they probably will lower the price as well. You just gotta kind of figure that out if it's worth your time or not. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes left. Oh, Mr. Mike Wood.
One thing that a lender brought to me one time was if you're doing a listing in an area or neighborhood, call a couple of LOs and ask them how many pre-approved buyers they have that have search criteria for that area. And then have them call you and leave you a message so that you can play that voicemail in front of the seller saying, well, here's an example. And then Shivani would say, hey, Mike, I ran the numbers, and for a listing in that neighborhood meeting those criteria, I've got 17 pre-approved buyers and I'd love to send them your way. So that you're not just saying, hey, I'm going to represent you in the sale, but I've also got buyers on the back end. So there may be value to that. Plus it helps out lenders.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I love
Nicole.
that. I love that. I've even used some of your buyers. You've called me for some of mine. You know, we'll share if you're networking in town and you know, like, hey, I've got a, you know, Michael told me when he has a big buyer. It's like, man,
Yeah.
I got a pre-approved $4 million buyer. If you got anything coming up and it meets this criteria, let me know. Even if I don't have anything coming up, if I'm going on a listing appointment that's relevant, I can say, hey, I've got a pre-approved buyer that may be interested in this house. You know, would you be willing to move forward with me and see where this goes?
Yep.
All right, we got time for one more question, and I haven't heard from everybody today. Anyone else who hasn't said anything have any questions?
Like the most outgoing people in the world, if you put them in a room of strangers and yet you put them on a Zoom call and they're all quiet.
Well, that's why, yeah, I see Nicole. That's why I ask them to do the ones and stuff like that. It's easier to get interaction that
Oh,
way.
yeah. Yep.
All right. Zach Martin. Wayne's calling Zach.
Somebody's calling
Martin.
you out, Zach.
Yeah.
I got a question. I know you're meeting with a lot of real estate agents. What have they got?
They're all getting so much from their notes, they don't have time to talk. This is
All right, guys. Well, let me pull something
Wait,
up real quick.
Zach's unmuted. You got something, Zach?
Hey, I was gonna say, great call, guys. I've been typing furious notes. Love the frame. Let's see. I should have come better prepared with objections. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna start writing them all down, because when I get put on the spot by Wayne over here, they don't come to mind. So I'll write them all down. But appreciate the call.
I'll say something real quickly. I love what Mike just said. And I think, there's enough lenders on and agents. This is how we work together to create more business and more synergy, when we can do a better job as lenders to collect the information to see what area our buyers are looking in, and compile that and maybe do a spreadsheet. And then on Fridays, before you guys are going to have most of your activity, give you those results and kind of arm you with some information to go to your sellers or any listing presentations you're going to go on, so what buyers are kind of prepared to purchase in that neighborhood and that price point.
I love it. So when you do that, when you do what Chad just said, you'll find that there's probably 10 to 15 objections. That's it. In real estate, I think there's 11 main objections that I deal with on the listing side. On the buy side, there's a few more. But once you figure out what those are, you can master that, and it will change your business. So for those of you who are still here, I've got this little Word doc. I'm going to turn this in to the B team, and they're going to make it pretty for you. This is just a script book and some objections of what we went over today. These are some of the things that I've worked on together. And then for the people in the Hive, the people a part of our community, I've got a 7-day challenge for you, and I would love for you to post the results in the Hive and share some of the scripts that you come up with using the same framework. It's just like what Chad was talking about, that collaborative nature. But it's going to arm you, and then we're going to give you live feedback. And guys, I can tell you this, we're all street level here. No one is sitting in an Eiffel Tower. We're all doing the work. We're all doing the calls, and doing this together and handling objections together is how we get to the next level. So that's pretty much it. It's 11 on the dot. I really appreciate everyone's time today.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
See y'all in San Antonio. Hope to see y'all there.
Yeah, see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Thanks,
See you,
Lee.
Jim. Thanks, Adam.